It's really a story that's meant primarily for children, but I think it's got a lesson we could all learn. The Squares lived happily in their square houses, in their square yard, in their square town. But then one day, a family of Circles moved in from the west. "Get out of here, roundies!" shouted one of the Squares. "Why?" said one of the Circles. "'Cause this is a metaphor for racism."
Well, son, I'll tell you. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time I's been a-climbing on, and reaching landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps 'cause you find it's kinda hard. Don't you fall now, for I's still going, honey. I's still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair.
The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish.
Is that what you see when you look at me? A puzzle to be figured out?
So you connect the dots with the freckles that I lack.
Subtract the possibility of an accent.
Calculate the sum of my eyes, nose, lips, and tongue.
Multiply by every curl on this nappy head. And what do you get? Ambiguous.
Okay, let me tell you about being so marginalized. It's to the point of I really can't believe that's Asian.
How are we going to get rid of racism and stop talking about it? I'm going to stop calling you a white man. Yeah. And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man.
As my words were meant to be mentioned in meticulous and mellifluous manner, yet you're mispronouncing manhandling mouth fucks it all up. My meaning's misused for miscommunication, misconstrued to a misinterpreted, misspoken mistake. Motherfucker, it makes me mad, so you better have listened, asshole, and listen well. Don't talk to me anymore, don't fuck with me anymore, because I am done talking.
As I walk into rooms, I can see my confident demeanor fade into a fragile stance as I imagine what is going on through the eyes and then through the minds of those that see me. They see an average-heighted Asian, which is about 4 inches shorter than most average males. Skinny build, quiet, and over-seemingly polite. Where did this instilled fear of proving my worth to others come from? Why is it that my mom would always tell me to stay out of the sun, son? Whiteman creams as essential as food next to the Vienna sausages and rice for morning breakfast. America the brave, land of the free. Only if you look and speak like me. Lands paved with gold roads, but only those with red souls are allowed to walk them. Mono-tongued, fair-skinned, and educated. I'm a first-generation Filipino-American struggling to keep hold on the former. How can I keep my heritage when it's so forcefully repressed? Being exalted for my race, but when it gets down to the mix of things, they tell me to act more on the latter side of the hyphen. What the hell do y'all want from me? Praising me for having a hyphen, but displeased in me for acting on it. Saying my parents' tongue is too thick. For sending me to the principal because I spoke words from my homeland? How can America be considered a melting pot when it's so set on setting a standard to culture? A way of speaking in which all mixes must fit. Putting a bunch of flavors in the mix, but only wanting to taste one? You'd think they'd promote the idea of speaking in a different tongue. And I don't need to go too far out west to figure out what America has done. It's even mudded my home country, the Philippines, forking natives' tongues. English primarily taught in schools, and Tagalog is no longer one. Living with Uncle Sam, but I got my parents' eyes. The tears of Lola's struggling have been watering my family tree. But America's colonization extracted the native seed. America the brave, land of the free, only if you look and speak like me. Lands paved with gold roads, but only those with red souls are allowed to walk them. Mono-tongued, fair-skinned, and educated. And when I was young, I resented my parents for never teaching me their first language. Communication is key in any relationship. So they sacrificed their ability to speak to me so that I could speak this misunderstood sense of freedom or equality. When in reality, bilingualism should be promoted as a positive feat, just not when it comes to meshing your codes and speaking right? My parents gave up pieces of my heritage so I could easily assimilate into an America that has nurtured my history into submissiveness. Growing up in a neighborhood where nobody looked like me, people found it appropriate to assume who I was. Oh, you know Bruce Lee? Do those slightly slanted eyes make it difficult for you to see? And calling me a Chinaman, it made me dislike the Chinese, internalizing these acts of racism and microaggressions until I learned that I wasn't mad that they thought I was Chinese. I was angry at their ignorance because I never believed in the saying that ignorance is bliss. I've tried ignoring the bigotry, but it's just too apparent to miss. And how could anybody be happy knowing that this type of ignorance exists? And silence was my form of action that I would take. Too scared to stand up for myself or the rights of others. Believing that I should suffer so that others can feel more comfortable with their prejudices. But it's just downright harmful. And silence only promotes this ignorance. And I can't silence my words any longer. Culture is beautiful. Diversity too. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this country has much unlearning to do. Bilingualism, trilingualism, pluralism in general. Learning and expecting your respective heritage while being open to others too. Because in the end, we're all just stuck in this melting pot together. America the brave, land of the free, only if you look and speak like me. America the brave, land of the free. Now you tell me, do my eyes make it difficult for me to see?